Laura's brother Woody would like to share a tribute.
Everyone, I feel lucky. I get to go first. I got the easy end. I wanted to keep this short, but I had a lot of feelings, and I was able to get somewhere in the middle. So I hope you can bear with me. I just want to say thank you all for joining us again today. So Laura was my only sister, and I was her only brother. From the first moment I can remember having consciousness, which is about when I was 4 years old, Laura was my big sister. She had 6 years on me, but my special blend of Hill and Archibauer genes blessed me with the gift of height, and it wasn't long before I became her big little brother, and she was my little big sister. Laura was more than just a sister to me, though. She was many things. She was a friend, a mentor, a teacher, a confidant. She helped me in so many ways, I couldn't possibly list them all now. If we tried, and I'm just going to do my best to give you the highlights. One of the first memories I have is of Laura teaching me how not to just tie my shoes, but also how to remember which shoe went on which foot. She would say, you put them together like this, and the V shape between the top of the toes should be smaller than it is when they're reversed. Around that same age, I remember climbing up onto the kitchen counter, trying to get to something in a cabinet that was just out of reach. And as I pulled myself up onto the countertop, I banged my head on the corner of the cabinet and fell to the floor with more than just a little blood resulting from the bump on my noggin. So my mother, Karen, who is a nurse, was quick on the scene to tend to me, but so was Laura. And Laura was there just helping keep me calm while they assessed the damage and patched me up. Kind of my first memory of her, helping keep things cool. Some weeks or maybe years later, I'm not sure, been so long. The whole family was in a car on our way to some destination. Laura turned to me and said, pointing out the window, "Hey, check out that airplane in the sky." To which I replied, "What airplane?" She quickly made the assessment that Woody needs glasses ASAP. She was the first one to catch on that I needed corrective lenses, but that wouldn't be the last time she helped me make sure I was viewing the world through a better lens. Growing up, I only ever had a few good friends at a time. A lot of them are here right now. Sometimes I thought I was friends with kids who were actually mean to me, and I didn't know how to handle it. Laura always helped me by pointing out who was worth keeping close and who wasn't worthy of my time. When I was stressed about something, she had a way of diffusing it by helping me step back and see the big picture, rather than hyper-focus on the details that I couldn't do anything about. When I had a problem, she didn't just have a solution, she had a lesson. As I was starting middle school, Laura was starting college. She was dating Trey, whom she would later marry, and who today. Trey is a drummer, and he had shown her the basics of how to play a simple drum beat. So Laura passed that skill on to me in the car as we traveled to Salisbury University for her move-in day to begin her college experience. She planted a musical seed in me that grew wildly and unobstructed. I had tinkered with the piano and guitar up until this point, but nothing got my attention quite like the study of percussion. Trey let me borrow an old drum set, and Mom and Dad let me set it up in my room. My parents and the neighbors suffered through my practices. Also, I could eventually pursue my wildly successful career as a performing artist. When the time came for college auditions, I was praying for a scholarship to help fund my way through school. And though many schools accepted my application, I struck out in the scholarship department. Trusting that I wouldn't falter, Laura helped me make the decision to take so that I could save some money, get some work experience, and continue to hone my musical craft in pursuit of the second. She got me a good job working under her as a marketing assistant and taught me some solid professional skills that have come in handy over the years. When the time came around again for college applications and auditions, And with the help of both my mom and a college counselor she had hired, I found myself being invited to audition at Loyola University in New Orleans. Upon reading the invitation letter with my family, I remarked that maybe it wasn't worth going down there. Money was tight at the time, and what were my odds anyway? I didn't stand a chance against those local kids who grew up permeated by the music, right? Laura chimed in, "Wrong. We're going." She said, "Don't worry about it. Just pack your bags." Laura went and booked the flights and the hotels out of her own pocket, not that she had the money at the time. And we went down to New Orleans for a nice 3-day weekend. We both fell in love right away. I remember her saying, "Is it just me, or is everyone a lot nicer down here?" Laura didn't just help calm my nerves about the audition. She got me there, looking sharp and feeling prepared. We enjoyed the rest of our time in the Big Easy, headed home, and a few weeks later, to my surprise, I was offered nearly a full scholarship. Just another in the long line of stories where I couldn't have done it without her. She was such an influential part of my life that a few years back, I wrote, recorded, and published a song dedicated to her entitled "Who to Be," because she showed me how to figure out for myself what kind of person I should be. I ended up living in New Orleans for about 11 years before moving back to Maryland in the fall of 2018 to be closer to family. My father's life was on the line at the time as he battled several ailments. Yet aside from that, I needed to be home for my own well-being. Laura and I were both struggling to find our purpose and direction in life, but whenever we were together, we lifted each other up and helped one another through the tougher times. Over the next 2 years, Laura and I both gained some real traction and growth in our personal and professional lives. We both had moved back home with Mom and Dad, and were strengthening our family bond as a whole. My dad had regained his health and his strength before the COVID-19 pandemic even began, and we were navigating the changing and uncertain world with greater ease than expected. We were fortunate in that we had our jobs to keep us busy, to keep income flowing, and to keep us sane in a world of quarantine and lockdowns. If you would like to hear more about the joys of working from home, my mom can be reached via Facebook or text message for further explanation. In the summer of 2020, I started seeing my lovely girlfriend, Casey, who is doing a phenomenal job of moderating the Zoom memorial right now. She was in New Orleans and I was in Maryland. As our relationship grew, so did the desire to live in the same place. Looking around, I began to notice that my family was truly doing all right for the first time in a long time. So I thought it was time to make the trip back down south. In October, I began making plans to return to New Orleans, and in late February, I made the move. The days leading up to my departure were precious and went quickly. I spent as much time with my family as possible, soaking in every last second I could get with them before making the journey back to Louisiana. I hadn't even left yet, and I was already missing my family, and they were already missing me. Laura and I had a special bond and an unspoken understanding of one another. We always wanted what was best for the other one, and I cherished her support because I knew my leaving would be hard for both of us. I'd been packing for a few days and had the car all loaded up, ready to go. It was the morning that I would be leaving. Mom and Dad were still asleep, but Laura was up early as usual, walking the dog and then preparing to leave for work for the day. She would be leaving the house before me, so this was the last time I would see her. We exchanged our heartfelt goodbyes and hugged harder than we ever had before, and said how much we loved each other, and that this was just goodbye for now, not forever. We smiled at one another, and then she left for work. Shortly after she had left, I was rummaging through a few final things in my bedroom when I came across a small wooden treasure chest that I wanted to leave as a gift for her. At that moment, I felt I had to write a goodbye note stuck inside the chest and leave for her to find upon returning home at the end of the day. This is what that note said. Laura, my sweet, sweet sister, I'm going to miss you more than you know. I teared up again after you left, and again now as I'm writing this. I can't believe everything that's happened in the time I've been home, the good and the bad. We sure caused each other a lot of grief, huh? But for better or worse, we worked through it together and came out stronger at the end. Stronger as individuals and stronger as brother and sister. Laura, I love you so much, and I'm going to miss you terribly. But now we can start looking forward to the next time we can see each other. Stay strong and keep your chin up. Love always, Woody. Laura found the note later that evening. She read it, wept, and called me right away to let me know how much she already missed me, and that she loved me and wished me well on my journey ahead. Not even a week later, she notified me that she had booked a flight and a hotel to come visit me in New Orleans at the end of March. Sadly, she would never make the trip. About a few weeks before I was to move back to New Orleans, Laura and I spent an afternoon out running some errands. We stopped at Piano Man Superstore in College Park, one of her former employers where she had an office space set up. We stopped there so that she could grab her laptop for the weekend. While we were there, we talked with our good friend Jamil, who works on the pianos there, and she sat down at one of the pianos that he had just tuned and played Somewhere Over the Rainbow, one of her favorite songs. Something inside me told me I should capture this, so I made her stop playing in the middle of the song and start over just so I could record the whole thing. This was a song that she and I shared a fondness for. She always sang it to me when we were growing up, and we both loved The Wizard of Oz, for which it was composed. I thought to myself, this may be the last time I get to hear her play for a long time. So out came the smartphone, moment captured. Afterward, we stopped for a meal at Sardi's on the way home. We talked about the future, her future, my future, our plans to visit one another and to stay in touch more frequently, to practice our Spanish with one another because we were both studying it on Duolingo, to keep our competitive streak on a series of chess games we had been playing, to keep being there for one another the way we had been these past few years. There are so many what-ifs that keep going through my mind. If you were close to Laura, you may be experiencing the same thing. I think it's a necessary evil in order to process the grief, but I try to remind myself not to dwell on what-ifs. We can't change what happened, no matter how hard we try, pray, wish, or weep. And Laura wouldn't want us to punish ourselves like that. She would want us to celebrate her life, to move forward, to stay strong, and to share her memory with others. She would want us to keep going to work, or get that new or better job, or ask for a raise using that resume that she probably helped you make. She would want us to learn a new skill, a new language, a new instrument, a new pastime or hobby, or anything that helps bring joy into our lives and the lives of those around us. She would want us to volunteer at an animal shelter or a homeless shelter or a community club with a cause near to our hearts. Laura would want us to know that life does go on. She gave us all plenty of examples of how to be a great human being. The best kind of human being. One who loves unconditionally, one who shares even when it isn't convenient, one who brightens the lives of those around them. She did this by bringing her sunshine with her wherever she went. She would want us to go on, touching the lives of others in ways that are meaningful, sharing wisdom that is impactful, and loving ourselves and one another as fully as we possibly can. That is what Laura would want. Let's do her proud.